Howdy folks, this is going to be the soap of the day. This is from RazoRock. This is the P160, and I was looking into this. I did a video once before with this one, and Stephen was pointing out to me about the, because I was interested in hunting down the aftershave, and he was telling me about it. This is what the texture looks like on the inside there. It's a fairly soft soap. Didn't really realize that there was two different versions of this soap. Oh, one of the things I should point out about what I really like about this one, it has a little lid, if you will. In other words, the scent, and I think it's, I would almost have to say, maybe not this extra little lid in here. The scent is still just, I've had this for about 2 years, and the scent is still very much present in this soap. So I really like this soap. This particular one here is 4.2 ounces, but I think the one that they're selling now at Italian Barber is a 5-ounce container for about $6, which makes it very reasonably priced. 5 ounces of soap, $6. That's a darn good buy, especially if you're working on a budget. Something like this is might want to take a look at it. The scent on this is almond, and I noticed that there's one version has a sweet almond and the other one's a bitter almond. To be honest with you, this one here, I couldn't tell you one way or the other with my nose. I guess I know it's almond, I know that. For me, I don't pick up a sweet or a bitter. My nose doesn't pick it up. Somebody else's most likely will, though. The soap was whipped up this morning. I whipped it up in a scuttle from Crown King, and this one here is what he referred to as a factory second. There's just tiny little imperfections in it. It's not a real big deal. Matter of fact, you're not going to be able to see them on the video, but it was whipped up with a brush from Colorado Razor Designs. Scott made this one here, and as you can see, that's a pretty good size knot in there. Whips up just fine in that bowl. In case you might say, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up is I mentioned about me doing a video on how I whip up my lather, and I got to thinking about it a little bit more and more. This is an awful lot. I got to thinking about it, and because I started whipping it up in the scuttle this week using scuttles, even though I don't have any hot water in there, I'm just using it as a bowl, if you will. Thinking along the lines, if somebody doesn't have a whole lot of room, or trying to keep things down to a minimum on how much they're spending on shaving, this doubles both ways. And I've been doing this all week without any hot water. Still warm here where I'm at, and as you can tell, it whips up just fine. I didn't think to look before I started the video whether Douglas still has some factory seconds, but even if the factory seconds are sold out, I think it's like $23, $26, something like that for one of these scuttles. When you price some of the others where they're running in the neighborhood of $50 or more, still a good buy. And matter of fact, using them as just a bowl works really well. As you can tell, I had a lot of fun working with these scuttles. I have a black one and a white one, and when he first came out with them, I didn't get one of the first ones. The first ones have a different label on them. This one here has a smaller label, which I kind of like anyway. The shaver of the day is, this is the last day of September, and it's been quite a challenge, and I did not squeeze in all of my Schick Injectors, much less my Gems and Stars and Ever-Readies and whatnot. But this one here came from Metalworks, and this particular Schick Injector is a G model. After that, I am not sure uh, where this came from, as it goes for 1, 2, 3, and whatnot. But this handle is brass, so in other words, this is not a lightweight. I really like this razor. First pass here. Oh, there's a Personna blade in there also. But it got me thinking about the video and how I whip up my lather. I got to think a little bit more about it and realized that how I was whipping this up in the scuttle and how easy it was. I guess I should be doing I guess you might say more than one. Be one video, but I'll be whipping up more than one. In other words, just show you how I whip it up in the scuttle, how I put the soap in there, a smooth bottom bowl, which this one here, these scuttles have grooves in them. And I don't know if it helps with the lathering. It lathers up pretty easy in there. Not that these soaps don't anyway, but there is one thing I have noticed when it comes to lathering in the bowl. Knot size will make a difference on how easy it is. Smaller bowl, you'll probably want to use a smaller knot. And the from what I have noticed, it seems like I have a smaller bowl, and even if you're using like an Old Spice mug or something of the sort, I have noticed that even the loft on your knot is going to make a difference on how easy it is. I have two fuller brushes. One of them was done by Strike Gold Shave, Frank, and he re-knotted it and spruced it up, made it look really nice. And I also have another one that still has what I think is the original knot. And whoever had this brush before wasn't very kind to it. And so in other words, it's got some gouges in it, in the handle. And not only that, I don't know, it's not the only vintage brush I got that was like this. It's got, you know, paint on it, like put on the wall. I'm not sure what the deal was. They didn't actually paint with it, but they did get paint on it. And on the handle, it's not too terribly bad because you can probably get most of that paint off with a little bit of effort. But in the knot itself, I've been able to get a good part of it out of the knot. But this particular brush has a tall loft to it, and I've been working with lathering it up to see how it works. And that's another thing I've noticed in between a knot that's kind of short, depending on how big the knot is. In this one here, the knot's not real big, but it does have a bit of a loft to it. And here it is. So you can kind of tell this part right here is a little bit on the tall side, not quite as big as like what I'm using right now. And how this lathers up, and how both of them lather just fine, but they do lather differently. And I noticed that in different bowls, which one lathers up easier, especially if you're kind of concerned of lathering in the mornings, and let's say your special someone is still sleeping. The ting 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 might not be a good thing on the bowl. That sound might wake somebody up. I'm at the other end of the furthest distance from the bedroom, so I'm not going to wake the wife up. But there are others closer to this bathroom. Just something to think about. I never gave it much thought till it was mentioned about making a video on how I lather, and got to thinking more and more about what I do. Some of this I just do without thinking a whole lot about it. For some people, the ting 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 on the bowl may not bother them. For me, it drives me nuts. I don't particularly care for it. I really enjoy these Schick injectors. One of these days I'd like to get one of the very early models, one of the very first ones. Those are awesome looking razors. Definitely good for traveling. If I have favorites so far, to me that are, for me at least, my experiences are very easy to shave with, and there's the type E and G, and those are fairly lightweight, relatively small injectors, and I can shave with those with a this one here with a buffing motion, and I've been kind of practicing off and on throughout this month, and those are just really easy to do that with. I've noticed it seems like some are easier to work with than others. Same thing with the gym style razors. Some of them I noticed it seemed like it was pretty easy for me to figure out how to work with it, and then others it didn't feel quite so natural, and it had a lot to do with the handle. I can still smell the scent. But you can pick up these Schick injectors on eBay or Etsy as far as that goes. It just depends on the condition of the shaver. Anywhere from $10 to $20, pretty inexpensive. You can get them cheaper than that if you're not quite as concerned about how the head looks. In other words, if it's got a little bit of wear and tear on it, still probably shave the same as one that's nice and shiny. But if you're just looking for a shaver, pretty inexpensive. The blades, you can get them depending on where you want to source them. They're not too terribly expensive. It is a different shave feel compared to a DE. For some folks, I understand that might be a hard transition, as well as getting used to where do you find your blades at. And there's several, I say several, there's a few different locations that are pretty easy to get these from. Depending on where you get them from, I have a tendency to stick with the Personna name brand, because to me that's your best buy. For instance, you know, $6 for 7 blades on the Schick brand. In other words, going to the store, brick and mortar. But you can go to Ted Pella, and I think you get 20 blades for, I think it's like $5. Their website's a little, I don't know, I'll call it clunky. It's not the best website in the world. But if you want to, let's say, a better website, Supply, that makes the adjustable injector. I think online it's Get Supply. They sell them. You get 20 blades for $10. I think it was $10. It's still overall 20 blades, $10. 7 blades, $6. Yeah. I'll go for the 10. Really like shaving with these Schick injectors. Variety of different handles and lengths. I've found that it's kind of funny in a way. When it comes to DE handles, I don't mind longer ones. But when it comes to the injectors, I prefer the short ones. They just seem to work better for me. Seems more natural. It's kind of like Jim's G-bar. That handle, the way it's designed, it just seems really natural. Been working on making sure I get the right angle with a gem. One of the publications I've got refers to it as a light touch, and then the angle. And then I realized my angle was just a little bit off that I've been using, and realized that if I will adjust my angle like they suggested, that not that I wasn't getting smooth shaves to begin with, but they got even better. And it talks about how you place the head on your face. Makes a world of difference. In other words, it's not an aggressive angle. And that might be where some folks are running into issues with them, having a hard time with the angle, and not realizing that the way that's designed, it's designed to fit more almost flat on the face. See what the album block has to say this morning. Right up in there. I don't know if I got my angle off a little bit or what. It's stinging right there. Forgot to turn my phone down. Pretty good shave. I just got that one spot. Like I say, I must have got my angle off just a tad bit. My usual routine when I'm not on cameras right now, I'll be rinsing out the brush, the bowl, giving this a moment to dry a little bit, if you will, before I put on the Humphrey's Witch Hazel. This is lilac. But that's to keep this relatively short, because I kind of take my time in the mornings cleaning things up before I leave the bathroom, razor, the whole 9 yards. Because right now it's sitting over here in a warm mug of water. Help keep that soap on the razor a little bit softer and easier to get off of there. The aftershave I'm going to follow up with is just something I normally do with this particular soap, is usually follow up with some Brut. Been doing that for, I think, ever since it was wet shaving. This seems to work well for me. I like the smell of Brut. But have expectations of, I guess you might say, finalizing my ideas on how I'm going to work up this video on how I whip up my lather. I'll get it out there. Tomorrow I'll be shaving with a, seems kind of odd, at least to me, with a Gillette Super Speed. And kind of a unique, going to be a unique shave for me. I'm not real familiar with this particular razor, so we'll see how the shave goes. Anyway, stay safe and smooth shaves to you.